You want to try to extend a hand whenever you can, because I don't think going through life alone is possible, and it was never meant to be.
Hi, I'm Tanta Croce, and this is Find Your Dolce, the new podcast where we explore joyful living and how to create your Dolce Vita life. I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for joining. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, I'm so excited. I'm interviewing Linda Natale. Linda is a longtime friend of mine. I saw her grow up from a beautiful little girl, and now she has three beautiful girls of her own who we're going to hear about today. Linda is the mother of Bianca and Alessandra and little internet sensation Valentina. So Valentina has stolen hearts all around the world, but most especially here in the Greater Toronto area. Last year, she helped raise over $30,000 for sick kids hospital through an amazing fundraiser named Valentina's Christmas Wish that went viral. She is a fierce little girl with an amazing family who we are going to hear more about today. And without further ado, welcome, Linda. Tell us all about you and your amazing girls.
Hi, Danila. Thank you for having me. We have three beautiful girls, but our twin girls, which are now 3.5, they were born April 1st, 2022. And shortly after that, we got a beautiful surprise that I was pregnant with our third daughter, which is Valentina. March 6th, 2024, she was born at the Brampton Hospital, and she needed to go into NICU right away due to fluid buildup in her lungs. So they reassured us that it wasn't going to be a long stay in NICU, and it may be 24 to 48 hours at max. Well, day 2 of being in NICU, they wanted us to start feeding her. And when we fed her, it was very strange. It went into her mouth and directly out her nose. And that happened quite a few times until the nurse said, well, just wait. We've seen this before. We'll try again in a few hours. So Mike and I looked at each other thinking it was a little odd that that was happening, because of course you always compare with your other children, and we've never seen that before with our twins. But we took their advice and we tried again in a few hours. And again, it happened the same, into her mouth, directly out her nose, instantly, the same type of texture and all. So they called the doctors, a few doctors, for their opinions. And one doctor said, this is out of our control. And they called sick kids right away. And just minutes before that, I remember Mike trying to calm me down and saying, don't worry, Lynn. If this was serious, sick kids would have been involved. They would have transferred her to sick kids. Everything's okay. Well, lo and behold, within hours, sick kids came and picked up Valentina, and that's where our sick kids journey began.
Wow. Okay. And can you tell us, Linda, like, how did you feel when that moment happened where you had to involve sick kids? At what point did you decide, oh my goodness, like this is getting serious now?
When they told me, I'll never forget, I was sitting in a chair in the cubicle in NICU, and the doctor with the curly hair picked up the phone, looked in at my eyes and said, I'm calling sick kids now. And that's where my insides shattered, because I'm thinking about everything. I'm thinking about my girls at home, that I'm not bringing Valentina home when I told them I would. What's happening with Valentina? What are they going to do with her? I just had a C-section, so how am I going to go with her? I'm grateful that I had Mike, that he was very hands-on, but as a mother, I was torn. I was torn between healing myself, going back to my twins, being there for Valentina. It felt like my world was crumbling all in that moment.
Of course. Oh, yes. As a mother, I can relate to the feeling of you just want to be the one that's sort of handling everything. I think we're sort of used to maybe doing that a little bit too. So I can only imagine how you felt. And how did you cope, like in terms of those first few days, like with your family, with the girls? How was that?
We have an incredible family, incredible family. It was a challenge coping the first few days because of my own healing process, but we are very lucky to have such a strong family around us that were all hands on deck when all of this was happening. Our mothers were basically taking care of my twins. And Mike was at the hospital a lot throughout the whole process, but especially the first few days. He was the main source of communication because it was hard for me to travel back and forth. However, I did make it. Like, we took the subway downtown. On my second day of healing, I was taking the subway to go back and forth to Valentina and the girls. And you just do what you got to do in the moment. And what gave me strength were my girls, all three of them. The power of love is what fuels you during the difficult times.
I totally agree. I think it's like you just said, it's love. And I think there's some sort of special superhuman power that mothers get. And you just, like you said, do what you got to do. I can imagine though, like I know your family, so I know how incredible they are. What do you think? You were saying how for yourself, it was your girls that gave you that strength. You wanted to get home to them. You wanted to create this positive atmosphere for them, I'm sure. And how about your family? What gave everybody strength and balance within those first few weeks? Because I'm sure everybody was in shock.
They were, because this is the first, I guess, child, thank God, that we've experienced something this traumatic with. And it's, again, the love that we have for one another. We want to show up when we are carrying a cross, it's everyone's cross. And you adapt and you make sacrifices to help those in need when they need it. The village shows up. And well, we knew how grateful we were when everyone just started saying, we got this, we got that, dinner's cooked. I would come home. I moved in with my mom during all of this, and she took care of everything, the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, the girls. She took a leave off of work to make sure the house and the rest of the family was taken care of while we were where we were supposed to be, which was Valentina.
That's amazing. It's an incredible amount of support. And you did mention the word cross. I know that you are very devoted to your faith. Did you find any of that comforting in this time as well?
Absolutely. It renewed my faith. So once we got to sick kids, it became a whirlwind. It was like a door opened in my life that I never knew existed. So we got to sick kids on March 9th. We were admitted, and she was admitted right into NICU. And in the background, when I open my phone, you hear, "You're in the best place. You're in good hands. Valentina's going to be taken care of." And you hear that on repeat in your head over and over. And you know yourself, okay, we're at Sick Kids, world renowned hospital, miracles happen here. Well, as the days went on, the harder it got. My heart was breaking more and more because Valentina was not getting fixed. She was still not swallowing the milk that we were giving her. Anything that we tried, she would basically choke and feel like she's drowning because this is not going down. It's not going down how it should have been. And I was just getting angry and frustrated because these are the top doctors. Why aren't you fixing my child? What is happening? We had all the tests done underneath the scope of Sick Kids, scans, MRIs, X-rays, you name it, she had it. And in time, her anatomy was perfect. We figured out everything was there that she needed to swallow. Our last our last option that they were convincing us to do from the beginning was a level of genetic testing that there's like first level of genetic testing, she passed, no condition there. The second level, and excuse me, I don't know the correct terminology, but I know there was three levels. So then she went to the third level once we accepted it, because we said now there's nothing left, like there are no answers. And it's like a month or two in and she is still having the issue. So we did the genetic testing. It came back 4 weeks later, and they determined that she had Rubinstein-Taybi type 2 EP300. It's a very rare genetic condition that delays your swallowing ultimately. And it delays your swallowing, your gross motor, and your speech. So that was one part of it that we were kind of relieved when we got it because of the word delay, and we were thinking, okay, this is just temporary. Everything's going to be okay. And then another part of it was we got results back from her MRI, and she has an irregularly shaped corpus callosum, which is the center of your brain that attaches everything, and it is irregularly shaped. So, till this day, we still are not certain, number one, if she will swallow eventually. And number two, what is the cause? Is it the rare condition or is it a neurological condition? So, what we are focusing on now is her stability and her ability to get her nutrients that she needs to grow and thrive. So, May 1st, I'm sorry, I'm going to rewind a little bit. May 1st, 2024, she had a surgery to insert a G tube, and that was a necessity for her to have in order for her to get her nutrients. So she right now gets 100% of her nutrients through G tube feeding, which is a tube that goes directly into her stomach.
Thank God for that. Like, thank God that there are these different things that they've developed, because it actually gives you a little bit of, I don't know if the word is rest, but like at least you know that you can sort of provide it to her. You know, your mind can rest knowing that she's okay. She's going to get what she needs through this tube.
Right.
Right.
Right. And
Uh,
for some time, in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is going to buy us time for maybe her muscles in her esophagus to develop or what she needs to swallow. And it was hard accepting that. It was hard to accept something so permanent because they put a G tube when something has to be so permanent. How did my faith help me through all of this? I leaned on it more than I have ever before. I started praying more. We had rosaries there every time we came to Valentina's room because we weren't allowed to stay overnight. We would start our visit with her with a rosary in our hand, say the rosary all together. There was a chapel at Sick Kids every time that they gave us an abundance of information for me to have that soak in and accept it. I found myself in the chapel just having a moment with Mother Mary. And Jesus. So I found myself talking to God a lot during these times of acceptance, and I just prayed heavily on allowing me to accept it and surrendering to this new lifestyle that my daughter was going to have for the moment that I never ever anticipated.
I can imagine that was a very difficult thing to do, but it's beautiful that you leaned on your faith. And I know, just because I was watching your story and following everything, I know that you also prayed for others. So a lot of the time you said, oh my gosh, guys, we're here at Sick Kids. We're on this floor, but I just came back, or I just passed by such and such floor, and like that's a floor you don't want to be on. It's very hard, and there's a lot worse cases. So maybe tell us, why did you think it was important to share that? Because you've been very open throughout this whole journey.
Yeah, so being at Sick Kids, I experienced a lot, not only with my daughter, but the things I heard and I saw are things that I wish I could unhear and unsee. However, that's the reality of a lot of families.
So we took a little break so you can go and get Valentina because she wanted to join the interview. But when we left off, you were saying that that is the reality of many families at Sick Kids, unfortunately. But it's something that we should be mindful of, right? Because there are many people going through a lot.
Yes. And a lot is an understatement. You know that exists, but you know when someone says you don't know someone until you walk a mile in their shoes, and that's what we did. Part of me is also grateful for the time, even though they were very traumatic times, what I saw in other parts of sick kids. But it also, it allowed, I'm grateful for it because it allows me to see life in a completely different perspective now that we are home and a little bit more stable. Um, I took to social media when I was going through all this. Number one, because I feel like it helped me connect better with the outside world of the walls of sick kids, my friends and my family that I had following me along the way. And going back to my faith, every time I found a prayer that I got a hold of my prayer, I believe in the power of prayer. I would take a picture of it, post it on my social media, and I would ask everyone, please pray, because the more prayers that are said, he will hear us louder. And it helped me cope through all of this, knowing that so many people were praying for her, and I was grateful to have social media to do that. And then it just spiraled. I would hear of a family story, I would ask, I would write, please, this story, obviously with the parents' permission, I would write a prayer that I prayed for this family, and I would ask other people to pray too. So, and there are many levels of sick kids, but we experienced three, like the emergency department, ICU, pediatric, and actually NICU. And when you walk through the doors of ICU of sick kids, I think you are walking through hell, in my opinion. There are families there that are living their worst nightmare. There are families that are going in with a child and not leaving with a child. And there are families that are bedside for weeks and weeks and weeks, just hoping their child comes out of a coma. And these are things that exist while we are worried about the pumpkin patch being too busy.
Amen,
It,
Linda. Amen.
every single time that I find myself spiraling about the things we are blessed with to complain about, I step back and say, stop it, because you are not where you were in ICU when she was intubated, praying that she was going to be successfully extubated. You are in a very privileged spot right now. So
I think you're
count
right.
your blessings.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the word privilege changes the definition, right? I myself, my family, like when I was younger, my family had gone through something with sick kids as well. So I also saw those hallways, and you're right. It's not a place you want to be, especially during the holidays. And I think, unfortunately, it is those kind of circumstances. Actually, fortunately and unfortunately. So nobody wants to go through that, right? But I often say people think, oh, la dolce vita, you need to have a perfect life. You need to be rich and famous. Like, God bless those people. They're so lucky. But it's actually from, not always, but oftentimes from these negative experiences that you start realizing, no, no, la dolce vita is just really simple pleasures, really simple, beautiful things like being home all together under one roof, or like you said, not being in the worst case scenarios, things like that. So that definition changes, the privileges that you have change. And I think it's interesting how sometimes, yes, it does come from these negative aspects. So it's not just about life being easy. That's not how you get to la dolce vita all the time, right?
Right.
I want to talk a little bit more about this community. Yes, so you talked about how you shared because it helped you cope, which is totally understandable. Social media is a really cool thing when it works, right? And it's magical. And I think we saw the magic last Christmas. So tell us a little bit more about how that all happened. At what point did you realize, oh my gosh, this fundraiser is going viral?
So Valentina's Christmas wish started when she had an admission in December of 2024. We were there because she was sick, and when she tends to get sick, she needs extra help. I knew we were going to leave because it was just a little cold. She was fighting. And this was in December when you're in the middle of the Christmas magic in the malls, in the house, you're decorating, you're together with your family watching beautiful Christmas movies. And my heart was breaking as we were leaving because I knew who we were leaving at Sick Kids. It was heartbreaking because families didn't get to do that. And it wasn't fair that we were leaving and there were majority of the people I knew living La Dolce Vita, right? Underneath their own roof. But I was thinking, you know what? Why don't we help these people? What? Because I remember being in NICU and we got these random vouchers on these holidays, on Mother's Day, Father's Day. Randomly, someone would come and, oh, this is a little package for you, Linda. And there would be like Tim Hortons gift cards in there. And those little gestures were the Dolce of my day. It was the sunshine that you needed to push through a hard time. It didn't fix things, but it put a smile on my face and it warmed my heart for that little moment. And those little moments you need to hold on to so hard. And I remember one day, and it was like in the middle of the night, and my friend was with me sleeping beside me because I couldn't do the ICU by myself. I needed so much support. And she was taking a little nap, like a 30-second nap. And I was just like, I cannot wait to be that person one day to help someone else because it's exhausting being the person that needs help. So, anyhow, long story short, is I called the fundraising coordinator while we were admitted. And I said, hey, we are going to be discharged probably today or tomorrow, very shortly. Tell me what I can do to help the families that are still here. And we had a long conversation, and ultimately she said, we provide a warm Christmas meal on Christmas Day, and no one sponsored that yet. No one has signed up to donate. I said, we're going to do it. I don't know if I can donate the entire thing. I think it was like $6,000 or so. I said, but I'm going to try to gather my people that have been praying for me and Valentina and my family. And I'm going to try to see if they will contribute to, I think it was 320 admitted patients that they suspected to be there on Christmas Day. So I said, let's see. So, anyways, they set up a fundraising page for Valentina. I decided to call it Valentina's Christmas Wish because we were there for her with these small gestures. She wanted to be there for the other families, for her friends at Sick Kids. And Danila, honestly, I pitched it to Mike and he said, okay, let's just try. He's like, but you're not going to really go anywhere if your account is private. Up until this point, my account was private. And he's like, why don't you just make it a little bit bigger and go public for a little bit? And I was a little weary of that because, you know, I have my family there and exposing them all. But I did it. And I said, okay, it could be temporary. Let's see. And like you said, it went viral and people took to it so beautifully. And that is when I kind of fell in love with Instagram and social media because we were doing something so wonderful together. It wasn't just me or her. Everyone just wanted to help out the families at Sick Kids. And it helped me heal and my family heal because we knew we were part of their village now. We were extending our hand to shed light on their dark days, and that's all we could do because we can't fix things. Like I said, we can't heal their child, but we can help, and that's what we were doing.
And I think that's amazing. I mean, as someone who watched it, participated in it, it was very exciting, very magical. And, you know, just to see, like you said, all these people getting help. But I think you touched upon something really important there. And this is something that I do with Viva la Dolce, with this podcast, Find Your Dolce. You said we can't fix things, right? You might not be able to fix the entire problem, but you offered one small dose of Dolce, right? You gave them one small thing. It's like what you said with the Tim Hortons gift cards. You're like, yes, it was just a gift card, but oh my gosh, I lived for that. Like that was, it was the sunshine in my day. So I think that's important to remember. I think sometimes people say, well, what's the point? You can't, you know, this little silly thing is not going to make a huge difference, but we need to keep track of the small differences too. because I think they count,
Absolutely.
right? So
Absolutely.
I want to ask you, you mentioned how, now you share your journey. It's a public account. What is it that you hope people really take away from all that you share with Valentina, from what you've been through, maybe even from the Christmas wish? What is the thing that you hope people take away from it all?
There's a lot that I would like for people to take from sharing all of Valentina's story and Valentina's Christmas wish. And even just sharing my life now on Instagram. Life is hard, right? As we all know. And number one, if you focus on all the hard stuff, it's going to be even harder. But you want to try to extend a hand whenever you can, because I don't think going through life alone is possible. And it was never meant to be. We always hear that it takes a village to raise a child, and it truly takes a village to live. And if you share your experience with the world, you may be touching someone else in a way that you never knew possible. There are so many people that opened up to me about their experience at Sick Kids. When I started showing my faith online, and people started reaching out to me, hey, I see you're at church. Can you light a candle? Or could you say a prayer for da 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 da, and so on. And people just started opening up to me about job loss, about health issues, depression, and we're not meant to do it alone. So extending a hand is where Valentina's Christmas wish came from, is to help other people out, because like I said, it's hard. Life is hard, and through those doors of Sick Kids, it's a different level of hard when you see your own child or see a child suffer the way they are. You're suffering just as much in different
100%.
ways.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Well said. And I love that you were that Dolce, let's call it, for those people at that time. I love that people were able to connect with you and help you. And I totally agree. That's a beautiful part of social media, is how much it can connect us, and especially in cases like this. So now tell me, Linda, what is it that you find is Dolce?
Oh, it's going to sound very simple, but waking up together and going to bed together and being underneath this roof together. Being together is my biggest Dolce in life, because that is where we all belong, the five of us. Having friends and family come visit us here at the house instead of the hospital is my Dolce. Waking up in the middle of the night to soothe my 3-year-old is my Dolce. I wasn't able to do that a year ago, a year and a half ago, when my mom told me Bianca had a rough night. It broke me to hear that I couldn't be there to do it. Living in the most simplest way is my Dolce. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Doing the smallest things, like you said, the simplest Dolce, the smallest things throughout the day are the most beautiful things.
I love that. I think that it's very important. And no, it's actually not small, maybe in some people's eyes, but to me, I actually see that as a big thing too. And I love that that's your version of Dolce. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Valentina, for joining us.
Always.
She was such a good girl. My goodness.
She is.
I know.
This is her new favorite thing. She plays with her feeding bag and she's happy as can be.
I love it. That's adorable. Well, thank you. Thank you both for your time and for sharing your story.
Thank you, Danila, for giving us this platform to share a little bit more about Valentina. It's our honor that we are in a place right now to be able to share it. Hey, Mama. And it's, like I said, it's our honor and it's our privilege. Most definitely, above all things, it's a privilege to be able to be here with her to share it.
Amazing. Thanks so much. It's time for Merenda Moment and to learn a little Italian. Have you heard the Italian phrase goccia goccia si scava la pietra? This Italian phrase means drop by drop, goccia goccia, the stone is hollowed out. Si scava la pietra. This comes to mind when you're going through a really hard time and you really have to rely on perseverance and consistency. It shows that no matter how hard the situation, you have to take it step by step and work on it in little parts. Sometimes we want things really quickly, but it's actually the patience that we need to get us through. So just remember, next time you're faced with a really difficult situation, goccia a goccia si scava la pietra.